Very much. Welcome to Global Matters. We are welcoming a new member on the panel, Maud Thomas, who used to be a prominent journalist at Radio 1 FM for several years doing the Sunday News Hour. And of course, as usual, my regular panelist, D.A. Jao, veteran journalist and former information minister. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me too. And it's good to see my former GPU president, D.A. Jao.
Thank you, Maud Thomas.
The main topic of discussion tonight is about, as you know, the escalating prices of basic food commodities, as well as one of the most sought after commodity these days in the Gambia is the cement. So without much ado, I'm going to hand over the mic to D.A. Jao to tell us, some of the major issues that are coming out of these basic food prices that have been always going up. It has never come a point where we say, okay, these prices are coming down. Over the years, they've always been shooting to the roof.
Thank you very much, Ibrahima. Maybe we should start from looking at the global perspective here, because as you know, we have quite a lot of hotspots in this world today, and that is definitely affecting the global price index. You know about President Trump and his tariffs. That definitely is also affecting the global price index, as well as we recently been involved in the war between Iran and Israel. That, of course, maybe not very much as in other hotspots like Ukraine and maybe the Houthis, blocking the Red Sea as well with their missiles and other things. But all those issues actually have a lot of negative effects on the global index. And when we square it down to our own, to the home front, that is the Gambian front, we have heard about the shortage of cement, which is going on there, the daily price index, which has also been, just skyrocketing. Virtually all essential commodities are going up on a daily basis. And, probably the government can always blame the international community, the situation in the international community as to what is responsible. But sometimes you cannot keep the blame squarely on the international community or what is happening in the international community. Probably some of it is due to maybe poor management and a lot of other issues. But honestly, these are all issues that intermingle. And, you cannot divorce one from the other. That is the situation as far as the global price index, as well as the cost of living is concerned.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, D.A., for bringing up the topic, looking at it from the upper level, that is the global price index, which is very essential here as far as our topic of discussion is concerned. But I want to bring your attention more, Thomas, to the issue of the Gambian scene. For instance, vegetable items like, let's say, tomatoes, onions. These are some items that are not imported to the country. They are grown locally and then harvested locally and sold locally. So I don't understand when somebody said the price of potatoes or maybe tomatoes is going up, and then these are things that are available in our garden. So what link does it have to do with the prices of world prices?
Well, I think I will agree in some way with what DA just said about the international community and the tariffs that have been introduced worldwide and the global issues that are affecting nations economically. But when you talk as a nation, sovereignty begins with the independence of self-sufficiency. But most of the time, we, especially the region that we come from, Africa, we independent on paper. We've gained our independence on paper. But economically, we're not independent. Education-wise, we're not independent. Mentally, still, we have this brain drain syndrome that is affecting a lot of Africans. Now, coming back to the price issues, and that's where I'm trying to allude to, just to give you a preface of what I'm about to say. We have agriculture. Gambia is one of the best countries where every seed you sow in Gambia will grow. Gambia and Casamas have that in common. Anything you grow in Gambia, any seed you put there will grow. But we don't utilize it. Now you see a lot of Gambians are coming back most from people who came back from this back way and people who were in Europe for so many times. I've tried poultry myself with somebody, got into business with it for 6 months. It was booming. But what happened? Honesty is number one. After the first 6 months, they will call you and said, hey, ganar bi dena. Ñin si se fata. Har bi dañ ko sàcca. The honesty, it's there, it's not lacking. And price control is affecting a lot of Gambians. When I go to Gambia, I try to go at least a year or every 2 years. The last time I was in Gambia, what I see was mind-boggling. You go to the same shop and buy bread for $2 is around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That same shop, you go there around 7 p.m., they will sell you that same bread for $3. You go there in the evening, they will sell you the bread for $4 or $5. No price control. Who is behind that? It comes from the top. Businessmen and businesswomen and companies will come with their shipment from overseas. Maybe they might bribe government officials, and there is no determination of a price control. You put your price on whatever you buy those commodities to. And the demand also always exceeds the supply, whereby people will even, where we come from, we consider ourselves to be Muslims. Look at Ramadan, what happens during the time of Ramadan when people are supposed to have sympathy. That's when the prices are hiked up. Ramadan, that's when the price go up. Even look at this feast that we just passed, the Eid. And it's not mandatory for people to buy that ram as a sacrifice, but people will go beyond their means to buy that. And it has even caused marriages, it has caused family dysfunctions, just because, and you even go to the extent of even cheating, borrowing the money, or even lying to get that sheep and bring it to your family. So there's a lot of factors that are contributing towards this global epidemic that we might call the hiking of prices. But as for Gambia, there is no price control. That's the thing. DA talked about cement. The issue of cement, no Gambian, it's a shame that we live in the 21st century right now, that a Gambian will walk up to their retirement and they will still be renting. That is not right. Ngajuru siluas, de siluas, maga siluas. You see people that, you grow up, you and I grow up with. Now you might have a land or 2 land back home. I might have 2 or 3 back home or 1. You see people who've been working even for the government or private sector since our childhood, but they are still renting. It is not because they don't want to buy a house. They cannot afford it. But you see a minister or even a permanent secretary, within 6 months, you having homes in Senegal, in America. You want to tell me that the ordinary Gambian cannot even afford to have his or her own piece of land and build a house?
Okay. Yeah. So, DA, now help us understand the correlation between the world price index vis-a-vis our local goods that we have, that we produce in the Gambia. For instance, a vegetable farmer will be selling items at the Serekunda market, and something that is supposed to cost $10, he or she might, peg the price at maybe $15 or $20. And when you ask, the guy will say, well, now everything is expensive. Luneka mo sell, kolbele da jawiyata sign. How do you explain that?
Yeah, I understand that definitely there is a correlation between the prices of local products as well as the global inflation rate and other things. Because the thing is, in everything that is produced at home, there are inputs as well. You have the farm inputs, a lot of other inputs as well. And if those inputs are costly, you expect that to reflect in the price. So, you don't expect the people to be selling those vegetables that they used to sell maybe, or kobo or whatever, the price that they used to sell them a few years ago, to be selling them right now, because because due to the inflation rate and maybe the exchange rate of the dollar against the international currencies, all those things are definitely going to affect the local price. So that is where the correlation is, because there are a lot of inputs that go into producing those products that you call local products. by the time you are ready with probably producing them, you end up spending much more than you would have spent in producing those things. So you don't expect the price to remain as they were in the past. So that's the situation. That's the correlation. Because we live in an interdependent world. So definitely, whatever happens in one part of the world, it is sure to have an impact, either negatively or positively, in other parts of the world. So that is the situation that we are living in today.
Yeah, I mean, I still cannot get it. For instance, these locally grown food or vegetables in the Gambia. Well, sometimes you don't buy the seeds, elsewhere. These are things that, I mean, you just plant them. At the end of the day, everything is produced in the Gambia. So this is an exception. So I'm just wondering, why should those prices jump up, shoot to the roof? I mean, how to call it, more Thomas.
I mean, the issue is, you mentioned some of the vegetables. I'll just bring your memory back to, if you recall, Jahali Pacha. There was nothing bigger than that when it comes to rice. We could have still maintained Jahali Pacha. I don't know how well it is maintained right now, but we were producing the best rice. We should have been exporting rice by now. Gambia could be food sufficiency by now. You will give credit to at least the predecessor who was there, former president. At least he was calling for, grow what you eat
Back to the
what
land.
you grow. Yeah, back to the land. And you will have to give him credit for that. I mean, most people during their vacation, they will go to overseas, but he will go back to Kanilai and he'll be farming and he will encourage people to farm. And now I see a lot of young people are getting into farming, and it's producing not only their chop money, what we call their depas, also it's helping them even to sustain the businesses that they're running, and also help family members sustain other avenues that they need financially. So farming is number one that I think if we focus on it, growing what we eat, a lot of these importations will be limited. Because if you look at where we're from, like, everybody wants to go to the supermarket. And statistically, you and I all know that people in the provinces live a healthy life than people in the cities. You've seen people in the provinces who've never been to a hospital, because when they are sick, they go and drink these herbs, and they're eating something that they grow at their backyard. You have a backyard farm. But we want always to emulate what is coming from the West. You and I are here. When people see us, our chicks, look at the Jawa now, the chicks are out. You would think like, oh, Simon live a good life. All these chicks are musiba, all is junk food. It's junk food. But we give that priority more than what we have, what belongs to us, the rice, the fish. Look at our fishing industry right now. Mr. Jawo was in the ministerial sector, and even before that, DA knew a lot about the government and how it's run. Look at our fishery now. You go there, it is dominated by Chinese. You think a Chinese person will have sympathy on what price they will determine on if Jame comes there, Jawo comes there, or Balde comes there to buy fish? No. They're there to have money and take it back home, just like anybody is here sending money back home. So why is it that we're not encouraging our own people or putting more resources and efforts on people, indigenous people, and help us, the farmers and the fishermen and women, to produce stuff that we need, rather than importing these things that will cost us double? So it's just the answer is going back to the land. That will alleviate a lot of these price hikes.
Well, DA, what is your take on that? The prices of basic commodities, for them to come down, we have to go back to land. I think Jamet tried it. Did it pay dividend? What happened after he left? Well, Jahali Pachar, for information, Motomos is now in the hands of the Gambia Armed Forces. They are doing intensive farming there, according to the CDS recent tour I saw on TV.
And what are they using for those products that they are farming? They're intensive farming, but what is it yielding? That's the thing. You have these officers, at the end of the day, they even borrowing money to buy even a ram. So what dividend is it yielding? That's my thing, if it is there.
Well, I agree with Mott Thomas's analysis of the situation. I think if we had concentrated more and given more priority to agriculture, I mean, the Gambia would have been, I mean, in a different trajectory altogether. Because the thing is, Gambia is an agricultural country, but unfortunately, not much attention is given to farming. Because if you had, I mean, given the farmers the inputs that they need, the agricultural, inputs like
Exactly.
tractors and other things, and it helps them
Fertilizers.
that they can be able to produce in large quantities. Definitely, we would have been completely different from what we are today. Because the thing is, I mean, if we had exported more, probably it would have, actually been very good for the economy. But at the moment we are exporting very little and importing much more than we are exporting. And of course you can know what that means, because we are sending out more of our foreign currency that we are receiving from abroad, and that is definitely so. You can blame that on poor management and a lot of other issues. But I mean, definitely the government could have done a much more than as far as the agricultural sector is concerned. And we would have been in a completely different era altogether as far as our economy is concerned. But that is unfortunately is not the case.
So now, in a nutshell, DA, how do you think these prices of basic commodities can drastically be reduced? Is there any way government can intervene? If not, I mean, how do we contain this situation?
At the moment, it would be extremely difficult.
Problem.
Yeah. At the moment, it would be extremely difficult for government to intervene and bring down the prices, because if you are not selling more than you are importing, then definitely, I mean, you are at the mercy of the international community, because they are selling more to you than you are actually selling to them. And in that case, you are operating on a deficit or on a budget deficit most of the time. But if you can be able to produce as much as possible, so that at least you can try to, balance the imports, the exports and the imports, somehow, or even, more, you export more than you import, then you can, you can definitely have a much stronger economy. And in that case, you can be able to determine prices of commodities. But here, I agree. I mean, if price controls were to be implemented, that is going to give a kind of a false narrative as far as the economy is concerned. Because if you want to control the prices and you have no control over the producers overseas, that is going to be a difficult thing altogether, because that could lead to shortages of commodities, and that could even lead to something else. So it's a difficult situation that the government is in. But I agree, it is definitely due to poor management. If the economy had been well managed by the government from the word go, it would have been a completely different scenario by now.
I concur.
Pricing also, Mott Thomas, you look at the issue of hoarding. For so many years now, you see sometimes basic essential like food, or maybe as in the case of cement, because a lot of people are engaged in construction and mining. You see some of these items will be hoarded by some of these prominent businessmen, only for the price to jump up when they realize that there is so much need for them.
Yeah, because it's been monopolized by certain sector of the private sector. You have the Gambia Chamber of Commerce there. I think if the private sector should come together with the Gambia Chamber of Commerce, the ministerial departments that are responsible for these businesses, local government, and the president himself, need to sit down and brainstorm over these issues, because business cannot be monopolized. If you monopolize in a country like Gambia, where what we import exceeds what we export, that's at the detriment of the citizens of this country, of the Gambia. Simple as that, because we cannot afford it. Look at the remittance. The remittance that we have that comes from overseas, from the diaspora that goes to Gambia. So unless they brainstorm over this pricing, because you cannot just let every Tom, Dick, and Harry to come and determine what price that they're selling items for, and no one says nothing. All we do is just as usual. And that's the thing about Gambia. We can sit and complain, but what do we do about it? That's the thing. We will sit in our attire booths, we will sit in our Kamben cafes, we'll discuss about things, but what are we doing? Are you making those changes when there is time for local government elections? Are you making those changes when there is time for presidential elections? You don't have to be violent. I've always advocated for that. But your biggest weapon is your vote. You see something, you say something. And if saying it doesn't help, you wait for elections and you go and vote for the candidate that you think will best fix those problems. Look at even our campaigns. That tells you a lot about the problems and the predicaments that we're facing now. We don't campaign on issues. We campaign based on character assassination. Oh, I know DA. He used to be my boy. I know Balde. He used to be my this. We don't campaign based on how we're going to fix this economy, how we're going to fix our healthcare, how we're going to fix our infrastructure. So these are the things that we need to worry about. What are the cause of these price hikes? The private sector need to come in, the Chamber of Commerce need to come in, businessmen and women need to come in, and the government need to come in, and they need to have a fruitful and a candid discussion to fix this, or else it's going to be a never-ending issue. Look at the price of cement now. It's preposterous. Look at the price of cement right now. And you consider that the salary that people are having, and you still want to alleviate corruption? I mean, you see your friend building a home, and you know that you have access to steal money, but you cannot afford it. Your salary can give it to you. What you gonna do? You make certain things easy and accessible to people, the country thrives, everybody thrives. But if you monopolize things, these are the main root causes of corruption. And I rest my case on that.
DA, where do you take off from what Thomas' point? The issue of cement is not it's not food item, but it's sought after because a lot of people are engaged in construction. You know, whether it's the semesters or those at home, or I mean, prominent wealthy individuals. It's a sought after commodity.
Well, of course, cement you can classify it as an essential commodity in the Gambia because the very fact that virtually everybody is engaged in some kind of construction, and again, the other issue with cement is that, as much Thomas said, it has been monopolized kind of. It will be left to kind of a few companies that are actually given the power to be dealing in cement. And we don't have cement factories in the Gambia. All they do is that they import the stuff and then bag it. It's just bagging factories that we have in Gambia because we don't have the material to produce the cement in the country. We just import the materials and then have it back there. So in the past, we remember, we used to have people who used to import cement from Senegal. And then, because there was availability, then the price was definitely not very high. But when they gave it to, the government increased the tariff on cement, kind of, I think, triple it or somehow, just to stop those people from importing cement from Senegal. And then they gave the power to the various companies, to the few very companies that were involved in bagging cement. And then that's it, So there was this scarcity most of the time because, they rely on importing the cement, bagging it, and then selling it. And when there is a problem in the importation, when there is like a ship fails to turn up on time, then there is always shortage. And that is what has been happening because in that case, those who have been importing it from Senegal, getting it from Senegal and flooding the market were stopped because, the government decided to triple the tariffs that they were supposed to pay. So that is definitely not helping the situation at all.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what is the way forward now, more Thomas, regarding this, the people who are tasked with the responsibility of importing cement? You think it should be given to like a free for all for anyone who is interested to engage in that activity?
No, practically that's impossible. But I think the people that are designated responsible for this, you got different ministerial sectors need to collaborate with the Gambia Chamber of Commerce, businessmen and women. They need to come to the discussion table with the government of the day and find a way forward, because this is not going to help. Gambians. This is not going to help majority of Gambians. It's going to just help the few, the most privileged, and people who can afford it. While you got hardworking people who earn their living, rightfully so, who deserve it, cannot even pay their rent, talk about even owning a piece of land, talk about constructing that land so that they can put their families in those homes. It's not fair for somebody who's been working their whole life for decades to still be renting, and you have somebody who's just been appointed within 6 months is having homes, apartments, and other businesses. And you want to talk about, there is no way that these people can have their own. That's corruption. And corruption also has a root cause causing all these things that we're talking about: price hikes, monopolizing of businesses and services. So everybody need to come to the table, have a constructive, discussion. Most of the time when we meet, our discussions are always destructive. When we meet as a government, as a private sector, as a people, and we want a way forward, we have to be very, very constructive, respect each other's view, and see a way forward. But the only way forward is to stop monopolizing these businesses.
Yeah, I think partly what is responsible for the hike in cement price is the issue of our fluctuating dalasi. The way our dalasi is really tumbling is a source of concern. But not only Gambia, but all local currencies, against the dollar, pound sterling, euro, So that has to do with because cement is not produced locally. So the price of cement also has to go up. But it's worrying, like Motomo said, when is the ordinary Gambian civil servant going to construct a decent house?
Well, I agree. I mean, the exchange rate of the dollar against the international currencies is a very big factor as far as the price of cement and all other commodities are concerned. But again, I mean, I think there are other factors as well which are important. Like, for instance, in Senegal, you have cement factories in there. Senegal has the material and they produce the cement. They have the factories where they can bag the cement. And Senegal is just next door. Why can't we, our importers import from Senegal and sell it to the Gambia rather than going all the way to Turkey or Egypt or anywhere else in the world? You can imagine the time it takes, and the amount of money, they have to spend in getting those ships coming to the Gambia. I think, it's a problem with Africa. I mean, we have the Africa, is it, I don't know what it is. African countries should be trading among themselves, and it would make much more economic sense actually for Gambia to be importing cement from Senegal and then selling it in the Gambia, rather than going all the way in the outside world, spending foreign currencies and other things. Honestly, I don't know what the economic situation, probably more Thomas, who is more economically inclined, will be able to explain to us what that means. But as far as I'm concerned, it would have made more sense definitely to importing cement from Senegal.
Well, more Thomas, what is your final point of view regarding this issue? Because we seem to be going around the same axis, the same circle, every time, the prices of basic commodities are shooting up. Now we are talking about cement. It cuts across all essential items, almost every,
DA just hit the nail on the head. I mean, we have our neighbors right there. They have all the things that we need. If you consider the cost, the labor, and the expenses that these business men and women and these companies are using, or it will cost them to go all the way to Turkey or somewhere further, compared to just going right across to your next door neighbor, Senegal, speak the same language, the same culture. They're not doing you a favor, but whatever you spend in there, it's like you're spending it back home.
And you don't even need a ship to bring it. You can just take trucks and transport it. Yeah.
You don't. I mean, but I always say this, and when I say it, people think I'm being condescending or sarcastic, but you would think that common sense is common, but definitely common sense ain't common for everybody. We could easily use Senegal and alleviate this issue with the cement issue, but we don't want to do that. It's like we're competing with our neighbors. For what?
Yeah.
For what? It's just it's mind-boggling. Doesn't make sense. And we want to talk about African unity.
Yeah.
Anyway, finally, dear, where do we go from here?
Well, as long as the policies remain the same and the people in power continue to behave the way they're behaving and continue with their, this bad management and other things, I don't think, there is light at the end of the tunnel. As far as I'm concerned, we definitely need to beef up and do things the way they are supposed to be, so that at least we can be able to, address this situation. But I'm afraid, things don't look very bright. The future doesn't look very bright as far as the control of commodities, commodity prices are concerned.
Yeah.
Montomos, what are your final remarks before we close the lid on the program?
Just like I'll just allude to the previous statements made by DA. I totally concur with what he said. That's the way forward that I think. And the rest we'll leave it to the viewers and the listeners to join in with their contributions and see how best we can alleviate this from Gambia.
Well, thank you very much. On that note, this is where we draw the curtain for this special edition of Global Matters on the escalating prices of basic food items and essential items in the Gambia. I am Ibrahim Balde, and join us next week for a brand new edition of Global Matters. Until then, bye from now.